I'm Julie Zenner along with Dennis Anderson, and here's what's coming up on Almanac North.
We will meet 3 newly elected Duluth City Councilors tonight who will be taking office in January and find out what their priorities are going to be for the city.
Iron Mining Association President Kelsey is here to talk about the industry outlook in Minnesota.
And we'll have the week's top business stories from the editors at Business North.
It's all coming up here on Almanac North. Hello and welcome to Almanac North. Thanks for watching at home. And we have a studio audience tonight, members of the UMD Alumni Association. And it's really fun to have them with us here in the studio, Dennis.
Yeah, it certainly is. We don't get a studio audience live here very often, so it's nice to have them here, and they're going to have a meal with us too.
And I feel a little bit connected. I'm a UMD alum myself.
There you go.
So it's exciting to have them here. Welcome to them. Good group of guests in the studio audience and a good group of guests this week.
That's for sure. All right. Thank you very much, Julie. There will be some new faces on the Duluth City Council in the new year. The election earlier this month saw a new at-large councilor elected and new councilors in the 3rd and 5th districts of Duluth. Tonight, we will meet the new city councilors and learn more about them. Derek Medved was the top vote getter in the at-large council race. Janet Kennedy will be the new city councilor representing Duluth's 5th district, and Roz Randorf won the election in Duluth's 3rd district council. Welcome to all of you. Thank you for being here tonight. I guess the big question I have, and maybe Derek, we can start with you. What caused each of you to run for city council? Derek?
Well, I think there's a lot of things that encouraged me to run. One, a love for community, starting way back in the day when I opened my first gas station, and even working at the gas station when I was 16. So a lot of things, the passion for community, and my mom always told me at a young age, if you want something done right, do it yourself. And so that kind of inspired me to say, you know, it's my time. I really want to bring a great voice to the council and work hard for the community.
Mm-hmm. Janet, what about you? What made you decide to run?
So for me, it's always been a passion, and people have told me that I'm a leader ever since I was a young girl, going to Fairmont School and being on the police patrol. But more importantly, I understood and began to see how policies were impacting people's lives. And the more people and the more diverse policy decision board we have, the better policies we'll make for everyone. So I'm really excited to make a difference in my community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Roz, you too have jumped in. Why?
Yeah, well, you know, I really believe in the power of a diverse council. And I saw myself as someone who could bring in some knowledge from the business community, as well as really my passion for, for the environment. And so I think diverse voices make for strong policy decisions. And so I thought I should throw my name in the hat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Roz, you mentioned your business experience and bringing that voice to the council.
Yeah.
Do you think it's fair, as you look at the people who were elected, that the citizens want a more business-minded city council?
You know what? I think it's a blend. Mm-hmm. In District 3, there's a lot of voices that are talking about affordable housing. Mm-hmm. They're talking about protecting our water and protecting our environment. But there's also a big piece of that, and that's they need livable wage jobs. We need to build our economy. We need to bring more industry in. So it's a blend. In order to solve one problem, you almost need the tools from building the business and bringing new industry to town and giving good jobs, bringing good jobs to town. And so doing one solves the other. So we need them both.
Mm-hmm. Janet, what do the people of the 5th district need that you can perhaps help provide?
Well, one of the things I said along the campaign trail is Western Duluth is open for business. So we need a lot of things out there, community-centered economic development. We have some food insecurity in some of our neighborhoods. We have some transportation issues.
Housing problems?
We have housing problems. We have one community who doesn't have cell phone service, can't go out to the end of their driveway and get cell phone service. So yeah, we need investments of all kinds out there.
Mm-hmm. Do you see that those investments are starting to take place?
They are starting. They are starting. But I think with myself living out there and understanding and doing a lot of work out there already around economic development or housing or around health inequities, there's could be more that can be done. And I look forward to working with Derek, who's lived out there, and both of us have are really rooted in our community, and I know we'll be able to make a difference.
Derek, are there one or two issues where your concentrations are going to lie?
Well, yeah, there's many. Housing, I think as all of us can agree greatly, and also creating jobs, creating better paying jobs in our community. And so, building the economy is going to be huge for me. So how can we do that? How can we, look at it from a business perspective and encourage growth in our community? And so those are some of the top things. We got to create housing to encourage industry to move here, and also then focus on strengthening the business climate in our city.
As a business owner, have you found city government getting in the way of growth and development, or are there insights that you could offer to help the city maybe better cooperate with the business community?
And I believe so. That was a big part of why I wanted to run. And so reducing red tape, what can the city do to encourage growth? There's a lot, and through city code, through permitting. And so, having the city involved within a small business or, implementing new ordinances can be harmful. And so how can we work with the small business community to ensure that they're going to continue to grow? And so for my growth in my business, we've grown outside of Duluth because we just don't know the next thing that's going to take part in implementing on a small business. So I would like to encourage people to move here, to grow here. And back to Janet's question, what does the 5th district need? And that was a strong voice, and I look forward to working with you. We have a lot of great opportunity, and so that's what the council needs, and our city needs strong voices. And even with Roz, I think the council is going to be a great strong voice to council, and we're going to work really hard to do all those things.
One issue I hear people talking about is rising property taxes. How do all three of you plan to address that? Roz, maybe you
Yeah, that is definitely, we hear that. And, the city assessment has changed on how we assess the properties 5 years ago. And so now the county's assessing. So some people are seeing maybe their properties has been assessed differently, which sometimes I think they think, hey, the taxes increase when in fact the assessment may have changed. That assessment may have been flat for many years and now it's catching up where the true value should be. But yeah, property taxes are an issue, and in order for us to stop, you have a limited amount of revenue in your pie, 91 million, right, in our general fund. In order to create more, we have to bring more business in, or else all we're doing is increasing our property tax and trying to grow it within. We need to bring business that's out and bring it in so that we can stop relying on tax increases.
And Janet, people also have a limited amount of money in their wallets.
Yeah, they do. One of the things that came through is we had a good idea around the 0.5% tax and how it didn't tax food and clothing, but it did create some more taxes that we needed. And so I agree with Roz. We need to create community-centered economic development that fits the community, but also brings in more revenue so we don't have to keep taxing our community members.
Derek, is rising property taxes a citywide issue or only in certain parts of the town?
Oh, I definitely think a citywide issue, because we're all paying for that, and at one point in time, it's going to catch up to everybody. And so, growing our tax base definitely needs to be a priority, whether it be through industry, small business, or building housing. And so, how can we do that? I think as a whole city, we can encourage that growth, and we need to. And so, I think even implementing a tax freeze, in a portion, in the upcoming years would be a big thing to hopefully promise and encourage people to say, what, we're going to really work on this, and just, stop the promises and say, hey, the buck stops here. We're going to really focus on saving you guys money because people can't afford continue, rise in taxes. We just simply can't.
The money is starting to come in from the 0.5% street tax. What do you think, Roz, in terms of making sure that the right projects are prioritized, having some transparency in that decision-making process? What would you like to see happen?
Yeah, I really think, and we hear it a lot with street repair, and with all of the doors that I knocked on, a lot of the times people would want to talk about the streets. We know the money's here, but people really want to know when my street's next. And so being able to communicate that, have transparency, it's like having someone do a repair on your own home. You pay them and you should know when it's going to be done. People feel that way also about their street repair. And so being able to cascade down that communication so people know when it's my turn is really important.
Janet, what about you? How do you think the city should prioritize spending that money?
So I know the mayor has already put together a plan, and she's been out doing some focus groups. I've been to a couple out in Western Duluth, out in Morgan Park. And so I want to make sure, and when she implements that it's going to be equitable across our city. So there's already a start, there's already a plan, and our job is to make sure that plan is going to work for every neighborhood.
Maybe all of you can address this too. Safety in the city is always an issue with people who live here and move into town. Is Duluth a safe city?
I believe Duluth is a safe city. A lot of people come here to raise their kids. A lot of people come from other cities that aren't maybe as safe to raise their families. And so I know that we need to make sure, though, we're continuing to support our police and our fire to continue to have a safe city and maybe even a safer city. We need to look at some of the social issues that are going on and implement maybe more social workers within our police and fire departments. But I believe so.
And I believe so also. You know, we have the great DPD and the fire department that go out every day and really work very hard to protect us. But the one thing that I really talked about on my campaign is perception is reality. And if you don't feel safe in your home or your neighborhood or walking down Superior Street at night, you know, are you safe? And so we really need to hopefully work on that to improve people, their mindset. Are you going to feel safe at night? And we want to make sure everybody feels safe in their home and in their community.
Roz?
Yeah, I'm really proud of our Duluth Police Department. In fact, my son is a Duluth police officer. When I look at what's happening on the national level, even in Minneapolis, and I look at Duluth Police, I'm super proud. We have a great team, we have great leadership, and yeah, I feel safe, and I believe Chief Tuscan's doing a fantastic job.
You're the first African-American city councilor in the city. Why is it so important to have the community's voice represented on the council? And you know, what are you hearing from folks in terms of how they want you to represent the community?
Yeah. So it's important because when we have a more diverse board, people don't fall through the cracks. What can happen is if there's just one culture in the room, it becomes sort of a one culture mindset in what your decisions are. And the community has been really supportive, and I believe looking forward to this. There's been so many people that said, Janet, I'm so glad that this happened. So it gives us an idea that we're moving ahead in Duluth, moving ahead in Western Duluth, and moving ahead not just for today, but for generations to come.
Can the city council do anything to enrich the lives of children?
I believe so, yes. You know, I think that we look back to the good old days, as I might say, or my grandparents might tell me, and community centers were thriving in our community. We had programming, we had Parks and Rec really thriving, the zoo was thriving. And so what are things we can encourage for programming in each neighborhood? The G&D Rec Alliance, which I was part of in the western part of town, taking the shack, as we used to call it, and pumping millions of dollars into that and really rejuvenating it to encourage, you know, after-school programming for kids, help on homework, and a safe place and a good, positive place for them to play in the neighborhood in summer days. So what can we do in each neighborhood? And I really want to work with district counselors and even the administration to encourage, you know, that programming for kids in our community.
And over the past year, the council's done a lot of good work on daycares, being able to change some zoning and some policies on getting, loosening up the regulations on getting them in businesses, getting them closer to businesses. Being a single mom myself, I know how important childcare is for people to be able to work, to keep and to retain their good living wage jobs. They have to have somewhere safe to bring their children in the day. And so I'm just so impressed with the work they've done this last year with daycares and with childcare.
Okay. Roz, Janet, Derek, thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
And congratulations on your
Thank you
wins.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our region's iron mining industry has been enjoying a strong market and full employment in recent years, but in an industry that is very cyclical by nature, many factors can result in a downturn. Going forward, iron mining officials will be keeping a close eye on energy policy in the state since the industry is very energy intensive. Well, joining us now is Kelsey Johnson, president of the Iron Mining Association of Minnesota, the region's largest industry, and great. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having
You're
me.
welcome.
I'm here. I'm really honored to be here today of all days because of the alumni being here. We actually just contributed, I found out from the University of Minnesota, we contributed about $6 million in scholarships to university students. That's system-wide. That's 3,000 students who received $2,000 worth of scholarships
Really?
in the academic year last year, and that'll continue on. We've been mining for 135 years, and some of that land that we mine is permanent university trust fund land, and so it's really an honor to be here tonight of all nights
Good.
because of the alumni present.
Yep.
Well, we're honored to have you here. Kelsey, what would you say is the current state of the iron mining industry?
That's a
right
great
now?
question. We're averaging about 40 million tons as a region. That's 85% of domestic iron. The 40 million tons that we are producing, we're going to be just shy of that 40 million mark this year, I think. But overall, we're doing very well. 6 taconite facilities are operating. We have 2 idled pig iron facilities, but those facilities could certainly come online if the market forces are more favorable.
We're always hearing about foreign steel, and particularly China right now. How is China having an effect, for goodness sakes, on northeastern Minnesota?
That's a really great question. I think that what's interesting about China and the Chinese steel market is that it's always producing more than they need. They are well over capacity, and at this particular moment in time, they're still providing a glut in the global economy.
Stockpiling.
Yes, and so when you have a situation like that where the supply is so high, the demand falls, and then the prices also fall, we're sitting in a very precarious, maybe not precarious, we're sitting in an interesting time right now, but our steelmaking facilities are at 80% capacity throughout most of the Great Lakes system, and that is what they need to be to be financially viable.
Have the steel tariffs made a significant difference?
Yeah, we actually, prior to the tariffs, we were sitting at about 70% of steel making capacity utilization, and so what that means is that at 70%, most of the steel making facilities are just barely making it. They have to be at 80% capacity utilization or higher in order for them to financially be viable. And so that's what the tariff and the Section 232 filing kind of helped bolster and helped support.
Janet, some 30 non-union workers were recently laid off at U.S. Steel's 2 operations on the Iron Range. How is that having an effect, and how is steel stockpiling having an effect on them?
Yeah, I think that that's a great question. Really, it comes down to dollars and cents. The 30 non-union employees that were let go, 30 to 40, it attributes to about $4.5 million in payroll. That's a lot of payroll that we have that we just lost as a region, and hopefully that will turn around. I think that many of the steelmaking and iron mining facilities are leaning as much as they can because of the other cost inputs that they're facing. So in one case, energy was mentioned. Energy is a big cost input for the iron mining industry, and so whenever we face more cost inputs, we definitely have to look at.
So do union steel workers have any reason to fear layoffs?
I do not believe so at this time. I think that every facility is doing everything that they possibly can to be as competitive globally as possible, and this is one more way to do that.
The legislative session will be starting up again in a couple of months. Any priorities as we head into the session in terms of what you would like to see in terms of policy?
Yeah, I think that we again are going to have a strong push from the governor for clean energy first. What that generally means is that whenever possible, whenever a utility goes before the Public Utilities Commission, they will look for clean energy options rather than other energy options. And historically, the legislation has always said that the first priority must be reliability. The second priority has to be affordability. And in this particular instance, the governor wants to shift our focus to more clean energy, which is a very noble idea and noble theory in practice. But I think at the end of the day, we're facing a critical time in our iron ore and iron mining industry. And as we are an energy intensive, trade exposed industry, we're facing continuing price increases every time we make more investments in clean energy.
The permitting process takes a long time. Too long? Just enough time?
Well, if it takes more than 25 or 30 years, then I think that, that's a substantial amount of time. And in one particular instance, it was 25 years, which is a very long time. I think that it's important that all players be at the table. And I think that through most of the permitting experiences we're having most recently, every stakeholder is at the table. Every stakeholder plays a role. And I think that if we can start those conversations maybe a little bit earlier and help expedite it, we definitely take a lot more time with our permitting than other states and even other countries. And I think that that also plays plays into our capital investment and overall input costs.
Taconite has been so important to this region for so long. Is traditional taconite fading away? You've got Cleveland Cliffs investing in processes to make a more value-added product with the direct reduced iron. Do you think that that's the wave of the future and something that all of the mines in our area are going to have to be thinking about at some point?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting market trend. So taconite feeds blast furnaces, and blast furnaces have historically been the source of most of the highest quality steel that we've had as a nation. Steel's the most recycled material in America, and so as we move toward more and more recycling of steel, they use electric arc furnaces, and electric arc furnaces need hot briquetted iron or direct reduced iron. So it's a higher grade iron content to be used in the electric arc furnace and the recycling of that steel. So it's shifted a lot in the last 5 to 10 years. It's gone from about a 50-50 mix to the blast furnaces kind of moving a little bit toward a smaller market and a market share. I think that those electric arc furnaces are going to continue to be a strong foothold in the United States, and so we need to meet the call and the demand there.
You mentioned the scholarships that you've been giving out. Talk about the workforce challenges a little bit in the industry and whether the region is really positioned itself to meet those needs as baby boomers continue to retire right now.
I was just talking to somebody about workforce development, and one of the people I was talking with said, yep, all of our mines compete for employees right now, and they're competing sometimes within the vendor member community. We have about 15,000 employees across the entire industry, 4,500 that are directly employed in the mines, and they compete for those employees, and so it's constantly one helping each other almost in the benefits that they provide. And we are seeing a very interesting time and a very interesting dynamic where we cannot get the students that we need fast enough, and we are seeing a significant turnover. 30, 40-year employees are starting to retire, and that's having a significant effect on the industry.
Are there specific skills that you're looking for in the industry that maybe could be helpful to the folks at UMD?
Sure. Actually, we've been working quite closely with the Swenson College of Engineering. We use a lot of engineers. They basically help us with a lot of the operations of our facility. So can't thank them enough for their efforts there. Business majors are great. Management, marketing, financial, all of those they all play a factor and a role in one of our operations.
All right. Kelsey Johnson, Iron Mining Association of Minnesota, thank you for coming in.
Thank you both so much for having me.
Thank you, Kelsey.
Yeah, thank you.
It's time now for the business news from the editors at Business North. A large North Dakota banking company is opening a Duluth office. Fargo-based Bell Bank will open a branch on the 200 block of West Superior Street. They have hired Tim McShane, former vice president at Republic Bank, as president of Bell's Twin Ports region. Bell Bank has more than $6 billion in assets and 24 branches in Minnesota, Arizona, and North Dakota. Last year, Bell had more than 1,100 full-time equivalent workers.
The recent elimination of about 30 white-collar jobs at U.S. Steel's Keetac and Mintac plants on the Iron Range worries state lawmakers. Senator David Tomassoni of Chisholm said he is very, very concerned that a downturn in the steel industry could turn even worse. District 3 Senator Tom Bach said he has heard more cuts are coming, noting the current economic recovery has been long but won't last forever. DFL State Representative David Lislegard of Aurora said he hopes this is a one-time cut, but added, quote, "There are disturbing trends in the industry."
Marvin Swoomy has resigned his position as president of Northland College in Ashland to focus on health issues. The Board of Trustees announced Dr. Carl Solobaki, previously Chief Operating Officer, has been named the 15th president of Northland. Swoomy recruited Solobaki to Northland College last October for his extensive higher education and financial experience. Prior to joining Northland, Solobaki served as vice president for finance at Ripon College in Ripon, Wisconsin. For more on these and other stories, visit businessnorth.com.
Well, you don't have to be near your TV to stay on top of our topics. You can see our latest interviews and earlier stories by following Almanac North on our social media channels. You will find us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And for updates about your favorite PBS programs, visit the WDSE website, where you can also find news about the station and learn about our upcoming public events. And Denny, we really want to thank all of our guests and to the UMD Alumni Association for joining us here in the studio this week.
That we do.
All right, for Denny and the crew here at Almanac North, I'm Julie Zenner. Have a great weekend, everyone. We'll see you next time.